Hello and welcome to this small town, and today it's time we finally address the brutality that winter has on small towns as opposed to the big city. Now, if you've been thinking of moving to a small town, you really have to take this into consideration. The way I'm going to go about this video is kind of talk about my own experiences, and then you can go off that and determine if this is the lifestyle for you, because it truly is different. So what I'm going to do is, since I'm an entrepreneur, I'm first going to start this video by talking about how winter has affected our restaurant. Now, one thing you should definitely look for is a link I will be putting in the description of this video. It's a link to a previous video I did about how our restaurant was about to experience its first January. Just in case you're not familiar with the restaurant industry, typically January and February hit restaurants particularly hard, regardless of where they're situated, but it can be especially brutal in small towns where the majority of populations tend to be made up of seniors. After I did that video of how our business was doing in January, we actually did pretty well for the first couple of weeks. And then, mysteriously, almost like something out of a Stephen King novel, the business just fell off a cliff. Like, it went completely dead. And as I discussed in that video I mentioned, one of the events that we put on, which was afternoon tea, did phenomenally well. And that is one of the reasons why we're going to be okay. But if we weren't doing afternoon tea, it would definitely be a different story, and it could be exceptionally brutal. So if you happen to be an entrepreneur, this is something you have to take into account. If you have a business that either relies on foot traffic or is more seasonal, then you will see a dip. This has also hurt another business I have, which is real estate. Real estate is a downtime at this time of year, so to have both businesses down at this time is kind of frustrating. Do take that into consideration. The winter will hit your bottom line. It just will. So let's move on from that. I just got in earlier from blowing out the snow in my driveway. If you do not presently own a snowblower and you have a driveway of an average size, I would strongly recommend you get one. I don't have any stats on it, but I can only imagine what they look like if you're tallying up the amount of lost work hours on a cumulative scale. It has got to be off the hook. If you do not have a snowblower, count on missing work. I mean it, like count on missing work. If the amount of snow you have to shovel out is not too much for you, then what the snowplows will leave at the end of your driveway will break you. That will be the breaking factor. And make sure that if you do get a snowblower, you get that thing serviced at least every 2 years. Take your snowblower down to a trustworthy service center and have them just look over your machine and just optimize it in time for winter. Because, and this has happened to us, I believe it was winter 2023, first big snowfall. I bring out the snowblower, I'm ready for action, I'm ready to clear this thing and get to business. I pull the crank, it starts, 5 minutes later, just completely dies on us. That was a terrible winter. Like, I can't begin to tell you how much my back hurt. And what's ironic about that is our snowblower had been serviced in time for that winter. That's why I said earlier, find a trustworthy service center, because the snowblower was worse for wear after we got some guy to work on it. We'll never make that mistake again. Don't cheap out on this. So when our snowblower died, what we had to do was we turned to this local who owns like this massive tractor with a snowblower on it, and he was coming in to dig out our driveway, which was great. The downsides is it cost us 30 bucks each time. So imagine, as the snow never stops, you just keep paying and paying and paying. And what we paid him dwarfed what we paid to get our snowblower service this year. Another drawback too is his plow, like, it's industrial, right? It tore the crap out of our driveway, and now eventually we will have to get resurfaced. I'm not blaming him, by the way. He did what we needed him to do, but the trade-off is that there are a lot of fissures and cracks in our driveway now. We've got like weeds growing through it. It looks really bad. That's just part of living out here. And I can't forget this too. As soon as we got our snowblower taken care of this year and the first big snowfall comes down, snowblower is good to go. We already tested it before the snowfall. It's good to go. It works. You know what stopped working? Our garage door opener. That's right. And it happened the year before too. It gets cold enough that the rotor starts to freeze and the oil's not working right. And then you have to like take a crowbar, put it underneath the crack of the garage door, pry it up, whoop. And then we have to go over the additional property damage you will sustain in a small town winter versus a city winter. Because in a city winter, by and large, you're kind of given cover by taller buildings, right? Whether it's like regular apartment towers or skyscrapers, you do not realize until you leave the city just how beneficial those large buildings are when it comes to the snowfall, because they break things up. In a small town winter where you don't have anything above basically 3 levels, 4 levels, yeah, we don't have, I think 3 levels is about as tall as it gets in our town. You do not have any buildings cutting up the flow of those cold winter winds and the snow. End result, just give an example. Last spring, I was driving around just for the hell of it to observe how many people were losing their gutters in the spring. It is phenomenal. And maybe that's a business idea for you. If you know how to fix gutters, maybe that would be an ideal business idea for you, at least for the springtime when the snow melts. I simply could not believe how many gutters I saw just collapse from the sheer weight of the snow that would end up resting on them. And then finally, if you move to a small town, I'm not going to go through like this endless list, but the one thing you definitely have to consider is if you do not have an all-wheel drive vehicle right now, trade in your 2-wheel drive and get an all-wheel drive. Like, you need 4 wheels for this kind of terrain, especially in a town like mine where half the town is situated up a hill. So whatever you do, there's always a need to go up and down these big hills. And my wife struggled. Like, she had to gun it just to be able to finish the top of a hill once, which is scary. And then going down can be pretty bad. The other day I wasn't throttling my brakes enough while I was going down, almost went through the intersection. And this has happened before. When that happens, my best tip to you, as you're braking, lean on your horn. And don't let go of your horn. That at least will alert both drivers and pedestrians as you're sliding out of control through the intersection that you're on your way down. Keep that in mind. Very scary as it happens. But all this to say that life in a small town in the wintertime is a lot more challenging. And I have seen people throw in the towel as a result. So do take that in consideration, seeing as how relocating is always costly and stressful. And you don't want to end up doing it only to find yourself needing to return to the city because this just wasn't your thing. I hope this video has been helpful. Check out the video link in the description. I'll also add a link to the free online community I've created for small town business owners. So if you're an entrepreneur, get in there. We'd love to have you. It's free to join, and I'll catch you in the next video.